I don't think I will have ever been connected to a performance the way I will to this one, and I don't know if I will after. Holding that space just before we start and like that silence before it, I think will just be one of the most special things like that I'll get to do in my life.
With the Brahms Requiem that we're working on right now, before we went into lockdown, I suppose, before we ceased rehearsals, we were a couple of weeks away from performing it. I felt like we were really getting to refine some things, and we were quite ready for that performance, I thought. Then it all stopped.
I think the whole COVID thing was such a strange occurrence because it all just happened so quickly, so much was taken away.
It was just really sad that we just sort of stopped and we didn't know when it was going to start again.
Brisbane Chorale is what we call a symphonic choir, where we perform largely the main symphonic works in the classical repertoire. We've been going since 1983.
Brisbane Chorale is what you'd call a community choir. It's auditioned. The people need to have a degree of experience in choral singing to be successful in their audition, and a voice that I think will work in the group. We range in size normally around the 100 mark. It's a very diverse group of people from all walks of life, all with that common passion for singing in a group.
I'm a lawyer. I work as an in-house legal counsel.
I have a bachelor's in computer science and artificial intelligence, and now I work as a maths and digital technologies teacher at Kelvin Grove State College.
I'm a barista, Wednesday to Saturday. I'm a supply teacher, Monday to Tuesday in a high school. I have an education degree in major in maths extension and a minor in English.
Although I also play piano and I enjoy playing by myself, there's something really special about making music with a large group of people.
I enjoy being part of that environment and creating something very special.
Yeah, I do enjoy it, but like I'm learning so much from it. These people around me are just like so good and so experienced.
It's the discipline for me. It's the discipline of choral singing that keeps me going. It gives me something to work toward and leads me to more growth, I guess, yeah.
Things were getting a bit interesting in the news, and we were consulting, the management team, we were consulting with one another. We had a rehearsal on the 11th of March, I think it was. We'd been talking about some final marketing things and for the concert, and I sort of cut in and said, you know, we can't do this. And everyone just sort of said, oh yeah, yep, you're right, we can't. But I wanted to just have a good rehearsal and a happy rehearsal, even though everyone's feeling a bit worried. I don't know why I didn't want to just come into that rehearsal and say, well guys, this is our last rehearsal. I think I wasn't trying to hold something back from them. It just didn't feel right. I just thought we should sing. I think everybody knew, but we didn't verbalize it. But I felt really emotional the whole time.
I think the whole lead up to that decision to close down was difficult. So even the last few sessions, there were fewer people coming. There were some people who were worried and frightened and were not turning up. And you know, I can respect that. And there was a fear. So even leading up to that decision, it was really an odd atmosphere within the choir.
We had concerts planned in May and June and September, and as the year rolled on, all of those basically collapsed.
One of the main things that sets Brahms Requiem apart from other settings, musical settings of the Requiem, is that he chose texts that were not like the Latin Requiem liturgical words. He chose portions of the Bible in German, his native language, which was an unusual thing anyway, so that was the language of his people and of his own personal expression. He was an agnostic, but he took text from the Bible that meant something to him. He frames the whole thing about the living being blessed in their memory of the people who've died, the mourning, you know. It is a piece of such empathy and beauty, and it has kind of intensity, private intensity, but it has these big moments in it.
It has a real mix of, you know, quite somber parts. I mean, the grass withers and the flowers fade, sort of thing. But, and then it has some really delightful, sort of joyful parts.
It was a whole different take, and the music reflects this. I mean, he wrote these incredibly soaring harmonies and melodies.
I guess it's a way of trying to find, like we always do, we try and find solace in times of distress.
The music speaks to a hopefulness and a comfort, even in the midst of a sense of loss. So I think that's not a bad thing for right now, at all.
It's one of the most beautiful pieces of music written.
You couldn't have picked a better partner, musical partner for this strange time, I think. When this whole situation began to unfold and it became obvious that we were going to have to stop, I always had the concern to keep the choir in contact, to keep that thread of contact going through this unknown, because I had a sense of how music is a tool for maintaining mental health.
I guess in my job, as an emergency physician, you have a different sort of discipline. You have a caring discipline that looks after people at their worst times in their life. And for me, music has always given me a wonderful offset to that.
It helps balance who I am. And so it was really hard during the time when we stopped practicing, stopped rehearsing. I really did miss that, just that being part of creating something.
I mean, things were a bit weird in every aspect of life. Work was very different. Obviously socializing was very different. But yeah, I definitely missed it when we didn't have anything on.
As one by one, every single project of the year got canceled, I thought, I'm gonna just hold on to this idea of Brahms as a thing that we could hope for. But I then thought, okay, it's important to keep some contact going, so we did the Zoom stuff. Before that, I was doing videos of ways to use the voice.
I thought it was actually really brave to try something quite different like that. I was lucky enough to be part of the small group creating the sound for the people to watch on the Zoom, so I didn't really see it from that side, but from my side, you know, again, that first time we came together, it was wonderful.
By the time we went back, I really was ready to go back, and I loved the first few rehearsals. I'm still loving it, but those first few in particular, I really appreciated like everything that I missed about it.
So when we came back to it, with our first combined rehearsal back in August, you know, there was stuff that had been forgotten, but basically it was intact, and everyone was just so happy to be together. So I've found in this iteration of where we are at with the Brahms, we've been able to go further with it than I would have been able to back in March. The knowledge of the piece within the choir is so secure that I am actually able to ask for some other things out of them, which is a really nice byproduct of this crazy situation, this crazy year. They've always been a responsive group, but they've become even more responsive when I ask for something. And there's this emotional content coming from every person there, because they know that we're lucky. Because, you know, once you've got this bug, if you're a person who loves to do this, and there are, you know, cohort, the colleagues around the world who love to do this as well, most of them can't right now. And who knows how long before they will be able to. So it's actually, it's a very moving thing to come together and to share that.
You know, we are quite lucky that we've been able to perform, and we're one of the few people that are performing. And, you know, even some of the major organisations are only slowly starting to come back, and others have, you know, basically chosen to cancel. So, you know, that was something that Emily really strove to get us back performing, and never gave up sight of that. And so, you know, the committee just really supported that decision, and I think it's turned out for the best. It'll be great.
I think it's extremely important just to prove that, you know, something like this can happen.
We normally have to think of a lot when we do a concert, but it's been extra intense and an extra pressure on a lot of people in the choir. And I've been just really touched by the commitment of everybody, and it's because they're dedicated to making sure this happened, you know? They're normally dedicated to the art form, but this has taken a lot of sacrifice from a lot of people.
Well, it's hard to say what the biggest part is. I mean, there's a lot of work went on early on, basically dealing with all the COVID issues and trying to work out where the venue was. And once we worked out we could use this venue, we then just had to work out how we could rehearse in it. So there's been a lot of components to the whole thing.
Something about this piece that speaks, I think, poignantly, and particularly speaks poignantly through the voyage that the choir has gone through for this. If it can just create a ripple of some hope and some uplift, acknowledging grief, but also lifting up the soul a little bit, then I think I'll be really happy that we've done that. And I think everyone else will have that sense as well. Because you sort of think, what can you do? What's something we can do? And this is something we can do.
The amount of effort everyone in the chorale has gone to make this happen, and like the changes that have been made and the adaptability I think everyone in the chorale has shown will be present. It will be there with us while we perform, and to then sing what we sing will be very, very different, and it will feel hugely emotional, I think.
I think it'll change the group forever. I really do.
performing is always emotional. I've been singing sometimes and you can feel tears welling up in your eyes because what you're singing is so meaningful. And then you get, hopefully you get applause. Sometimes you get a standing ovation. It can be amazing. But then it's weird when it's finished because then you get that sort of, oh, it's done. It's a little anticlimactic. You sort of think, oh, I've done it now. What's next?